Greetings everybody, my name is Tommy the Keyblade Master and welcome to my channel. In this audio vlog I kind of want to talk about some of the stuff I've seen with the Xbox One, which with something that was just announced. It's kind of more rumored in the very beginning phase, but to me it kind of just shows Microsoft is taking its games divisions very seriously, and Sony better start preparing and watch out for it, else Xbox One might actually start outselling it and outperforming it this generation. Now, this generation is kind of polar opposite of last generation when it comes between the competition between Sony and Microsoft's consoles. Last generation, Sony started out very arrogantly. They dug themselves into a deep hole. The console was too expensive. They failed to kind of address that. In fact, they kind of went full force. And then when they did finally decide to drop the console price to a competitive level to get it able to compete with both the Wii and the Xbox 360, they did it by cutting out the PS2 support. And their PlayStation 2 is the most successful console ever launched. And they just cut out the support on the PS3 completely. Also, they could spend money on a virtual reality Second Life failure that was called Home. They managed to dig themselves into such a ditch that they only really started to come back out of it, start earning my respect, later in the generation when we finally started getting some exclusive JRPGs like the Tales series onto the PS3. Before that, I really didn't have much respect for Sony. I didn't get a PS3 until late in its life, and I went out and bought a used old model PS3 just so I could have that PS2 backwards compatibility, because I know I would be using that more than playing PS3 games, and I still think I use it more for the PS2 backwards compatibility than playing PS3 games. But yeah, Sony kind of dug themselves in a hole. But what the Xbox One started out doing this generation, and thankfully for Microsoft's sake, they quickly nipped it in the bud, because if they had gone with Don Matrick's original idea on how to sell the system, Sony may have dug themselves a deep hole over several years using garden shovels, but Microsoft was prepared to show us they could dig an even deeper hole using power equipment, steam shovels, because their DRM, where I actually had to ask permission in order to loan a game to a friend or in order to sell a physical copy, or the fact that I'm going to be bundled with this useless Kinect camera that I may or may not want, and that the camera can spy on me. It can even shut down games if it senses too many people in the room watching my gameplay. Who the heck would want to buy a console like that? And that's how Microsoft was selling it. It was really maddening, and Microsoft's response to the whole always needing to be online was, well, you can buy an Xbox 360, and I remember going, no, I can buy a PS4, Mr. Matrick, and screw you. There is a part of me that kind of wishes they kept on doing what they were doing at E3 several years ago when they first unveiled the Xbox One, just because out of curiosity's sake I was wondering just how badly the Wii U would outsell the Xbox One. They were that bad. Needless to say, Microsoft needed to turn things around. Matrick left before the Xbox One was officially released, and whoever stepped into his position really did a good job of at least managing the mess. They got rid of the always needing to be online. They got rid of the DRM requirements, and eventually they decided to put a kibosh on the Kinect and drop the price to actually being lower than the PS4. Now we step up to what we have nowadays, which is a new CEO has taken over Microsoft completely, and he has some new ideas. Windows 10 is perfect for the Xbox lineup in just the way it's doing it. I'm getting a new computer just so I can use some of the Windows 10 features with my Xbox. It's kind of neat. I can stream games right into my PC. Hopefully I'll be able to record games without having to use a capture device for my Xbox One, which is a very good thing because my capture device and my Xbox One don't always get along. Either it shows me no pictures sometimes when I'm recording, or the picture and the sound just go out completely while recording and I have to put a stop and give it a rest. It's not very fun. Hopefully that will be able to connect perfectly with that, although I hear it's not quite up to being able to live stream yet. But hopefully we'll get to that point soon. But yeah, I mean, Windows 10 is great. Now they're going to be experimenting with the Xbox 360 and backwards compatibility. Now, I talked about this at E3 last year. Guys, this backwards compatibility is a good time to put your Xbox 360 into a closet. Find a space for it in your closet, take it down and put it in there. It is not a good time, however, to eBay your Xbox 360 if you like all the games. There are going to be plenty that aren't going to be there. I said Tales of Vesperia might not make the list. I am no longer thinking that. I think that one will be made on the list, but games that are licensed, like the Marvel games that are no longer up on the digital sales, or at least were pulled down temporarily, might not be there. Games like The Simpsons or the Ninja Turtles might not be able to be remade for the Xbox One, so we won't be playing those on the Xbox One. But anyways, today there's rumors that Microsoft might start taking a look at, but first they have to make sure the 360 BC is actually something people want, and that's a fair assessment. I mean, why spend money on something people might not want? But there's talk that they might go back to the original Xbox. Now, granted, chances are if they do, it's going to be just the same backwards compatibility list that we got with the Xbox 360. We'll just have to see. The Xbox One has sold a whole lot more than the original Xbox did, and more than what the Xbox 360 was probably doing back during the time Microsoft was really caring about expanding their backwards compatibility list. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. Personally, I would love to be able to play some of the original Xbox games. I don't own too many, but Star Wars KOTOR is a fun game, and I wouldn't mind having my Mega Man Anniversary Collection work on an Xbox, a modern day Xbox, without the bugs. If I could find a way to debug that game so I can enjoy it on a modern day console without having to go out and buy an old Xbox in order to enjoy that game, I would love that. Meanwhile, Sony seems to be just twiddling their thumbs. I didn't really see a lot new. I saw a few good games, but I don't see a lot new coming from their system. They really need to step up the game. They have PlayStation 2 and PlayStation 3, not to mention PlayStation 1. All of them were pretty good sellers that have games I want to play on modern day systems, and would love to be able just to keep one console for all my Sony library, and Sony seems to be just sitting on their hands. If this goes well for Microsoft, it will be interesting to see if Sony steps up and adapts a new strategy for this. Anyways, this is just my ideas. This is Tommy the Keyblade Master signing out.